You've been up for how long with the project? For
3 years already.
3 years already. So it's
So I am Mark, by the way.
Yes, maybe 1 second to introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Mark. Spiel is my name, and normally I run the sales department of an agency, communication agency here in Berlin. But my big passionate projects are bundled in my own little company called Dreamwalker. And I want to make movies actually. This is my first step now. So because I'm not a filmmaker, I asked very good filmmakers in Hamburg that are actually concentrated on music videos and documentaries to help me. And these are Freie Eckert, and they are the real professionals. And we're doing it together. And yes, I'm very excited if we can raise some money now, because our money is gone and we need some help now. And we will see how much money we can raise for this project.
So did you apply for public funding here, or is this?
No, not at all. Okay. So we start by crowdfunding.
So this is the first, your first movie, and this is the first crowdfunding campaign.
Absolutely.
So the video you made here for the crowdfunding pitch, it took you a few weeks, I guess, because a few weeks ago I heard about the project and that it's going to start, and I was really excited about it, and I didn't find a link, or there was no link then. So I was a little bit depressed and said, what's wrong? And I asked Conrad from Incubator, when will they start? And he said, yeah, they're soon to be starting on Incubator. And so now you're here. Is this kind of energy gone in the last few weeks because there was a YouTube video introducing?
No, that was far too. Sorry, that was far too soon. Actually, we put the video on YouTube because we didn't want to start so soon. And we started, by the way, yesterday. So since yesterday is on the platform, we already raised 275 euros, I think. And yes, now we are starting, and we had a long version on YouTube already over 7 minutes. That was far too long. And we have already 30 hours, nearly 35 hours of material, which we shot already. And there's so much material in that already, which is really could be an own movie. But we want to shoot more, because there are a lot of things going on right now. And we want to follow them, travel with them also, and do a soundtrack. Just another will make the soundtrack themselves for the picture, and that's what we need money.
And you're also shooting the music videos, like the one.
That was actually Freie Eckert did that too, but it was a contract work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're rolling the second series of clips.
You go full screen on it?
No,
Yeah.
on this page now.
Die jonge Leute, die machen een EasyJet-setting, die komen met een EasyJet van donderdag of vrijdagavond. Die bezorgen die van een beetje willen belopen, want die mag dan 3 dagen dansen, die nacht moet in Bergheim of Watergate.
Wie kann ich denn gegen den Tourismus in Kreuzberg auf die Straße gehen und dann nach Kreta fahren?
Vom Tourismus profitiert die ganze Stadt, auch der Staatssegel, aber natürlich ist es wie immer so, die schon am meisten haben, profitieren am meisten auch am Tourismus.
Der Tourist ist letztlich ein Konsumsklave. Da geht es quasi darum, dass es so eine mehr oder weniger hysterische Bewegung ist und irgendwie halt Umsatz gemacht.
Vorhin schon die rote Beete und dann meine Wochenende, dann das zumachen, weil Tag und Nacht einfach auch oft kostümierte, betrunkene Horden von Touristen gestartet werden. Das ist wirklich ein ganz Jahresprozess.
großen Busse einkesseln und zum alten Meeting und Touristen fotografieren, so wie sie auch die Einheimischen hier fotografieren, also das Rückenblitz. Wir werden sie in einem Album kleben, so wie die Touristen ihre Bilder auch in einem Album kleben.
And the second clip.
That's a video message for the crowdfunding.
That's the appeal video for crowdfunding. It's not possible to go full screen like that? Yeah, on the bottom right
Nee,
corner.
das geht nicht mit dem Screen.
Ach so, es geht mit dem... Doesn't work with the screen.
That's right, the dimensions.
Hallo, wir sind hier am Brandenburger Tor. Es ist total kalt. Warum sind wir hier? Weil es hier auch bei dieser Kälte Touristen gibt. Und was mache ich hier? Ich recherchiere. Ich will einen Film über Tourismus machen. Warum über Tourismus? Ich wohne auch ein Tourist, ein Besucher von einem anderen Planeten, warum nicht? Mal gucken. Aber die sehen jetzt friedlich aus. Auf jeden Fall, ich will einen Film über Tourismus machen. Ich wohne seit ein paar Jahren hier und ich stelle fest, dass Berlin sich ändert. Es gibt immer mehr Leute, die Französisch, Englisch, Spanisch, Italienisch reden. Und ich finde das auch total interessant. Ich finde das spannend. Es gibt aber auch Leute, die finden das gar nicht gut. Die haben Angst, dass Berlin sich ändert. Dass die Freiräume verschwinden, dass die Preise steigen, dass die Mieten steigen, dass sich irgendwann die Leute, die hier sind, diese Stadt gar nicht mehr leisten können. Und dass es dann nur noch ganz reiche Menschen hier gibt und es total langweilig werden wird.
Bitte kein Bier, kein Wodka, oder wie ist die Suppe, ja? Hast du Gut
für den Hals. Wie lange stehst du schon hier in der Welt? Was Berlin Tourismus braucht, das weiß ich ja. Berlin ist eine arme Stadt und viele Leute leben direkt vom Tourismus. Das ist sogar vergleichbar mit einem dritten Weltland. Erstaunlich, aber wahr. Die Frage ist also nicht Tourismus überhaupt, das soll nicht in Frage gestellt werden, sondern wie kann Tourismus in einer Stadt, was man könnte sagen, in einem Land wie Berlin stattfinden. Ich will herausfinden, wie das alles zusammenhängt. Sind Touristen wirklich schuld daran, dass Berlin auch sich negativ verändert, dass die Freiräume verschwinden, dass die Mieten steigen, dass die Stimmung in der Stadt sich ändert? Wer ist da schuld dran? Und wie könnte man Tourismus betreiben, quasi nachhaltigen Tourismus, der einer Stadt und den Bewohnern nicht schadet? Ich will versuchen, da ganz viele Leute zu treffen, mit ihnen zu reden, zu beobachten, die Stimmung einzufangen und einen komplexen Film über das Thema Tourismus in Berlin zu drehen. Und dazu brauche ich eure Unterstützung. Und das könnte einmal sein, indem ihr mir Feedback hier auf dieser Seite gebt und natürlich gerne auch, indem ihr mich finanziell unterstützt.
Okay. Just a show of hands, has anybody seen any of the clip material for Welcome Goodbye yet? Anybody? This is the first time that you're watching that? Anybody? Yes? Okay, so pretty unanimous. Alright, so these two projects are looking for financing, and maybe we can have a little discussion about financing in terms of what you've accumulated so far. We'll start with you. And so, what kind of assets are we dealing with so far? I mean, how much money have you accumulated? Where are the sources of funding? And maybe you can just tell us a little bit about that first.
I didn't try to apply for any official fund yet. Before this film, I made an independent documentary, another Berlin subject, about Berlin Hasenheide. And this went very well in the oldest cinema in Berlin, Movimento, for 4 months. It was running there. and I created a Facebook page with more than 5,000 friends. It's like a personal page, so I had a limit of 5,000 friends. And now, last year, I did shoot some material for the trailer, and I made the trailer, and now I didn't try to raise any money yet. I just started, and I want to be online with the project maybe in March, but maybe a little bit later, it depends.
Okay, so just to summarize, basically the trailer was funded out of private personal funds. It was edited by yourself or by a team of your own people. Was it yourself?
No, by an editor.
By an editor, okay. And so the trailer was quite good, and the reason I would consider it to be quite excellent is because you're doing a lot of vox populi where you're going out on the street and interviewing people. That always has potential to be very viral because you're taking random individuals and making it more of a universal theme that appeals to a lot of different people. So you're basically not working off of any budget whatsoever, or are we talking about several thousands of euros that you have waiting to put into play? If you can just maybe talk a little bit about it. Just, you don't have to give us specific sums, but probably just an estimate.
Yeah, we start, we have our own equipment, like we do have, like I'm doing this film with a friend, I made also before the previous project, and we do have our equipment, so we don't need to rent the camera and the sound and everything, we just can go out and start. So that's how we produce the trailer. And at the moment, no, we don't have any money for the project, but I also want to apply to like Leaning Board and these public funds.
Okay. And do you have a target sum that you would like to raise from all sources combined? And sources could be things like, just for everybody so that you know, when you typically do an independent documentary or feature film, you could have the largest share of your budget comes from private equity, which is probably in the neighborhood of 40 to 50% of the money that you try to raise. Another 30% can be raised through crowdfunding. Another 15% can be raised through government funds, what we call soft cash, and the remaining 15% can be raised through co-production agreements with other countries. That would be like a really sophisticated indie package, but it looks to me like you're only looking for 2 of the 4 sources. You're looking for, or maybe even 3, you're looking for the private money you can raise, the crowdfunding money that you can raise, and the possibility of applying to the government funds. And you haven't looked at bringing other countries on board, perhaps looking to Austria, Switzerland, any of the Germanic-speaking countries. Have you looked to those partners yet at all?
Not yet, no. I'm also looking for a producer to help me to look for all these countries.
So you're producing the film presently yourself?
At the moment, yes, but I don't want to do this all the time, yes. I'm looking for a producer.
What is the sum of money that you expect to raise on, and which platform as well would you like to use as your crowdfunding campaign, crowdfunding platform?
I want to do this on Start Next.
Start Next, which is a German platform, one of the new ones.
Yeah, they are all quite new. So all the German-speaking or German language platforms, which we also heard yesterday, they started like 1.5 years ago, and Start Next was the first one, and yeah, it doesn't matter where it's based, but what's interesting here is that they have some kind of it's called you have to have a certain amount of fans before you can start. It's called start phase or start phase. You have to have a certain amount of fans that like the project before you can go into the crowdfunding process, which is some kind of quality thing.
Insurance. Okay, so let's repeat the sum once more. The sum, how much are you trying to raise?
There are 2 different sums. I don't want to talk about the figure right now, but it's like a low budget, and there's a medium budget and a higher budget, and I will see like what can I achieve.
Okay, so this would be your first crowdfunding campaign ever.
Yes.
And the people that you will be bringing to bear on this project, just yourself? Do you have interns that are possibly interested in working and helping you get the word out? We can go down to an autopsy. Actually, autopsies are for dead things. We're going to go into an analysis now of the things that you could put to bear in order to be successful in this campaign. My experience with crowdfunding campaigns, and I've been involved with 4 of them, with a filmmaker in the United States called Gregory Bain, who's a documentarian based in Idaho, and he did 2 really interesting documentary projects. The first project was called Jens Pulver, driven about the 3-time UFC MMA champion. We had 3 separate crowdfunding campaigns for I believe it was a total of $55,000 US we had tried to raise. On all 3 occasions we had oversubscribed quite successfully, and on the last campaign that we ran for a new documentary called Blood's Worth, you can check out his name on Google, B-A-Y-N-E. The new project called Blood's Worth, we tried to raise another $25,000 and we oversubscribed again. The reason I mention those 2 projects are because the sums that Gregory tried to raise were modest enough for a first-time crowdfunder that it was very easy with his existing audience network and the people that were in his downline to go and to achieve those sums. I have seen crowdfunding campaigns in the United States and Canada, and in Europe as well, where the numbers are too ambitious, where they try to raise too much money for the very first time. And if you're on an all-or-nothing crowdfunding platform like a Kickstarter, like Incubator, like Disneyland, then the possibility of you having a very negative PR or public relations fallout in the event, and you must consider this as a filmmaker, in the event that you fail, that you do not achieve your target, will likely, as we say in American slang, deep six, it'll kill your opportunity to have another successful crowdfunding campaign. Without knowing the sums of money you're trying to raise, if I were to come aboard as a PMD or a consultant like Wolfgang, I would say I would go for a lower number, and by lower I mean 15. 15 is a good number to start. You can do a lot. What I've seen in your work with Welcome Goodbye, you can do a lot of good stuff with 15,000 euros. In my opinion, there's plenty you could do. I don't want to get into the specifics of what you would need to do to make the crowdfunding campaign roll. We'll do that in respect of the Jazz Nova project, because I think you have way more personnel that you're going to be putting onto this project, and I'll describe the process, how that would work. But maybe at this stage, consider a sum that is reasonable, that you can achieve as a first-time filmmaker. Possibly consider a platform that is not all or nothing. For example, Indiegogo, in which if you do not achieve the sum, you still get to keep the proceeds of the cash. So for example, if you put 15,000 on Indiegogo and you only raise 9, you get to keep 9. So you don't feel like you have lost. The other thing is, put a team together of people that will help you run the campaign. Because as we had heard on the previous panel, I cannot tell you how much effort goes into doing a crowdfunding campaign. In the final days leading up to the end, the terminal hour, we are not sleeping at all. We are retweeting like maniacs. You should look at some of the hashtags that we use. It's usually boom, 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 with like lots of exclamation marks. And we're not sleeping, none of us. And so until we actually hit the target, and then we relax. We were up for 3 days on the last one, straight, no sleep. I don't think you alone, it is wise. I'm not saying you cannot, I'm sure you can. I don't think it's wise. So, for example, maybe the person who was shooting you, who was like recording you with the camera, who DP or whoever, that might be somebody that goes together. Think about a brain trust of people that you could assist you. Because crowdfunding is a tremendously exhausting thing, because you're the producer and the director. You're thinking creatively, and you're thinking like a producer. Plus you have a life to run, and you have family to look after, perhaps. So there's a lot of things that you have to consider. It's very difficult. It's not a simple matter of just going to say, I would like to raise 15,000 euros. I want you to give me your money, and this is what you're going to get. Ready, steady, go. It doesn't, there's so many people that are looking, there's so many competing crowdfunding projects today. It has become so ubiquitous that if you don't get this kind of help as I described, and we will go into that in Jazz Nova, it's almost assured of, I'll say, failure. That's kind of my experience with it. Any experiences with that?
Yeah. Especially with the total amount of money you want to raise, there are many filmmakers considering to keep it lower than they thought they would, just for strategic thoughts, and maybe make 10,000 because you can can get more than 100% there. So to be on the sure side, you keep the money you get for example, if you have 10,000, but you want to go to hit the 15 or 20,000 target. So many filmmakers in Europe try this because of the all or nothing system. All the other strokes in Indiegogo, of course. But if you want to stay on Start Next or a German platform, maybe you find a total amount that is lower than the one you really want to raise, and just to be sure, just to make sure you get it. So that's what I thought when I heard yeah. I mean, 15 is possible. That's true.
Back in terms of on the subject of amounts, in my personal experience, I believe lower is better. Lower is better because you're broadcasting a message to the crowd that you're not you're not too conceited about the amount that you want to raise. You're not being boastful of the success of trying to raise $60,000 on your first go. I had a client that I had a disagreement with in terms of the amount. They had wanted to raise $60,000, and I had advised them that I thought that wasn't a good idea. I'm monitoring their campaign from afar, and they're very slowly inching up, but I don't think they're going to hit 60,000. Let's just have a quick review, just very briefly, in terms of the actual platforms. For those of you who don't know, Kickstarter, Indiegogo are the two primary platforms in North America that people use to raise money. Kickstarter is known as an all-or-nothing platform. It's like Reno, it's like Vegas. If you raise the amount within the target deadline, you keep the entire amount less a commission. I believe for Kickstarter, it's 5% of the proceeds plus 3.5% commission from Amazon Payments, which is the payment processor that accepts payments on behalf of campaigns. Indiegogo is also American-based, but it's not an all-or-nothing platform. It's the kind of thing where you could raise under your target amount, in which case the commission is 9%, and I believe it's a 3% commission on processing. If you do raise your total, it's just like Kickstarter, it's 5% and then 3% again for commission. You always get commission for the actual processing of the payments. The German platforms appear, the new ones that are here developed in Berlin appear to be on a similar tip.
Yeah, between 0 and 10%.
0 and 10% proceeds.
And I think the 10%, by example, on my share plus is including the payment costs. So.
Okay, so it's a one sum. It's basically one sum. Yeah. Has anybody here in the room done any crowdfunding at all? Has anybody successfully raised money on any crowdfunding platform whatsoever? Just a show of hands, please. One person.
And they're
two.
They're in the back.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little bit more specifically about Jazzanova, because that would be very indicative of how to put everything together to make it sort of roll. The basic tools of a good crowdfunding campaign are a really good blog, a really good YouTube outpost, or Vimeo, but preferably YouTube, and I can explain why, a really active Twitter following, and a really active Facebook following. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about some of the, we call them marketing assets, your social media outposts, the ones I have mentioned. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your crew who's going to be helping you raise this money, and maybe tell us some of the things that you have working on that you're going to be putting to bear on the campaign.
First of all, I think it's very important that we've got the backup of Jazzanova themselves. So they liked the idea of this film, they liked Freya Eckert, who are co-producers on this project. That's why actually they did the last music video too. And so they will actually activate, I guess, I hope so, their fans. And they've got at least, I think, 50,000 fans on Facebook. So let's say there are 5,000 active fans right now, or 10,000. That'll help us. And then we've got a PR expert working for us. And yesterday we sent out to 150 addressees, we sent out PR info.
A blast.
Information blast, email blast. So we guess we get some articles about our campaign. Then actually we've got we leave out the Twitter thing. Maybe we actually do that also, because maybe you're right. But I actually believe now in the passion of the people. That they say, you know, there's a passionate project. That of course we have to activate them and tell them about the whole story, otherwise they won't know. But I think that we are trying, of course, to work with wire marketing a lot. So we do a lot with Facebook. We've got the banner from our portal, which is Incubato, by the way, on Facebook, which people can spread, of course, and so on and so on. So we do a lot now. We've got a blog, which I think is very important because we want to show people what we're doing so that they can follow the whole process, what's happening, and so on and so on. And of course, we've got very, very interesting rewards so that people are motivated to donate something.
Especially the email blast, it was going to journalists or to private persons, to friends, to your private networks, or was it like a press release? Because as you said, social media and Twitter, blog, Facebook is quite important when you do, or is the most important, are the most important assets in America and North America, Canada, but many filmmakers and crowdfunders here do believe that print media or traditional media are important in terms of crowdfunding too, because like in Germany, also in Austria, there is one big, like the Bild Zeitung, and in Austria there's the Krone Zeitung, and when you hit those print media, then it goes to the masses. So many people believe that journalists are really important, traditional journalists, or also of course online media journalists are important. So that's the question: did you email a press release or like a personal email?
Just now, right now, yesterday, only journalists, because I believe the same too. I think media, the traditional media is very, very strong. But of course, you've got to combine it. So what we start today, this evening actually, we start activating our friends and so on and so on. And we hope that, I mean, I've got in Facebook I've got 1,100 friends, or whatever, friends in brackets, and but friends across too, and we hope that they spread it all. So that's what was going on right now.
Good. Because my experience is that's better to do it the other way around, to activate the persons in your network, because then maybe some of them support your project, and when the journalists watch your page, click on the page, they see that there are a few pledges, that there are a few supporters, and so that there is interest in it, and then they pick it up and publish it. So that's my experience here.
Okay, let's speak more specifically about what we see, because again, were I to be hypothetically brought upon a campaign as this, and I was to do a diagnosis of what I see and what needs to be done, because we can have a discussion about what is an ideal scenario, but these are projects that are already in motion and rolling, so we have to deal with the present realities, and we have to react on the fly. Okay, so what have you recorded other than the trailer? I see the trailer, it's well done. It's well done because the filmmakers themselves appear. It's vitally important. It is a requirement to actually post the pledge video, as we call it. You have Jasmine, but we get to see a sense of the vibe, the energy, the musicality, the talent. You're showing us something geographical as well. We get to see the environment where they play. We get to see the fan reception. Great. What other video stuff, perhaps you can tell us, have you got in the can? Not principal photography, you haven't recorded, or perhaps I'm wrong, have you recorded anything as yet that can be cut up into smaller pieces, repurposed, put up on YouTube, for example, or other platforms? Maybe you can tell us what you got so far.
Absolutely right, that's all we prepared. We've got another clip coming, but that's going to come, so we don't have it right now, so they're going to cut it. As I told you, we've got lots of materials. But our problem with this trailer was to cut it so short, because we've got so many good things we wanted to show. So this was the first clip. There's another clip coming, which we're going to show then, of course, too. And we've got, for example, some releases of Jazzanova coming up, the vinyl of the new record, I Human, then the CD of the Funkhouse Sessions, and the DVD, and so on. So we built up campaigns around that, of course, too, and so on and so on. So we've got some things prepared.
Okay, great. It's always a good situation to have more than you need. Some people might think that that's a bit, of a curse. I think it's great. The reason why is because now we're going to be, this campaign, we've had a look, it's running, in my opinion, I think the campaign's running a little too long. I think 105 days is too ambitious. The reason I think it's too ambitious is because you're permitting somebody an average donor, an average pledger, to basically become lazy and complacent about giving you cash. If I know that I have over 90 days, over 3 months to give you money, I will probably forget about it, and not because I don't want to be part of the project. I just have so many other priorities that take precedence. I am a fan of campaigns that run no longer than 45 days, because if it's not going to happen in 45 days, it's not going to happen at all. If the project is worthy enough of an appeal for cash, it must be done within a very limited number of days. It also demonstrates your bona fides, in the sense that if you can raise money in 30 or 45 days, that's really good. That means that you really know what you're doing, and that means that your subject material is hot. If you raise money within 100 days, I'm not saying it can't happen, it's not very likely that it would happen. The other aspect that I see that was somewhat problematic that Wolfgang and I had discussed was the amount. That is a very ambitious amount of money to raise for a first-time crowdfunder. It is your first campaign?
Yes.
So I believe that to be a very ambitious campaign. And the third point is, this is an untested platform. It's a new German crowdfunding platform, and I had asked Wolfgang before we started what was the top tier fundraiser on this platform. No more than 20 or 25,000 euros. So for you to be very ambitious with 70,000 is a really big bite of the steak, you know, to try to take a big bite. If I were to come in, had I been part of this from first principles, as we say in the business from inception, had I been involved in this from inception, I would have shot this no more than 25,000. Because what you're doing here is if you do not achieve the sum within 106 more days, then you are potentially attaching the stain of some kind of a letdown. I'm not going to say a failure, but a letdown on Jazzanova, which doesn't really go with the Jazzanova vibe, which is upbeat, happy, great music, great crowd, they sell at every concert, there's a lot of cash in the kitty. They don't know how to manage it, but there's a lot of cash in the kitty always. I would be concerned with that. Now we have to run damage control on that. So now that's why I'm asking you, what do we have? I would, from here on in, every day or every 2 days, I would get with your editor in the suite and I would cut up no longer than 2-minute, I'll call them sexy clips of things that are indicative of the soul and the personality of this band. I would avoid showing the filmmakers on these clips at all, and I would even group them into themed groups. Make it into kind of a mind map on a whiteboard, or there's software like MindMeister, which is a German platform. Think about the different silos of themes that you could organize, all of that stuff that is raw. And people like raw, and people like volume. Also, whoever is blogging, or whoever is taking responsibility for generating content, there is no reason why you could not combine creative functions. Draw up a blog post, keep it at a reasonable Spartan amount of anywhere between 500 and 700 words. You know, any good writer worth their salt can whip that out like that. And embed a YouTube clip of something that we just talked about in the blog post. That blog post gets put up on that page that we're looking at right now. There is a link to it, or even embedded in.
It's already.
Right, and that's going to be done every day, or 5 days a week.
I don't have the time for that, sorry.
Hence, we have PMDs to do this job, or PMDs are responsible for crews of interns. And in Berlin, it's very easy to find a very ambitious filmmaking, whatever students or people to do this, that would be a part of this project. And then you can think of compensation models. I'm not proposing that people do it for free. You need somebody to be on top of this, because between here and the terminal date of 106 days, we're basically going naked. On the strength of this alone, will become stale quickly. Because if this starts to raise money, they will put you on their landing page. So if you go to the incubator.de, if you go to their landing page, you will become the keynote project. You want to show them how it's done. You know, you want to be like the leader in this area. And one way that I would propose that you do it is your content, we call it extra diegetic content that is outside of the main project, but related to the project somehow, has to be top-notch. Think about bringing somebody on board. It doesn't cost a lot of money. You could probably bring somebody for anywhere between 300 and 500 euros a month or less to do this. And they do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Adam, thank you very much for your tips. It's great that you have such an experience too, but I think actually you're overrating it a bit. I believe very strongly in the product we have, in the fans, of course, and in the music around it. And I think we can achieve it. We don't have so much time. Of course, we've got some people who help us too. But I think that what we are doing will raise the sum we are trying to achieve.
And you feel that way because?
I'm confident, and I love risk, and I think I'm only doing this. Actually, we need more money than 70,000.
Okay, so we on Welcome Goodbye, we had asked about the percentages of the money that you were raising for this project. Perhaps you can tell us the sources of the cash, or maybe just kind of a rough percentage breakdown. Because crowdfunding is not the only source that you're looking for funds, or is it the only source of funds?
No, actually. I think that we get some sponsors together, because Reservoir is a big brand already, worldwide. In Japan they're big, in the States, for example, in Chicago, etc. We've got some brands who are interested already, and I think we get some sponsors into our project. And then, of course, we can get some official money if we want. We can try it. But that's complicated, as you know. You have to fill out very many forms, etc. So we, of course, like to produce a soundtrack and the movie, the documentary with the 70,000 we're raising, trying to raise. And yeah, I think that some sponsoring money will come to help too.
Okay, so we've discussed two concrete sources and one possibly maybe source which could come aboard. The reason I say that is because if we design a marketing plan for Jazzanova, we need to also have contingency plans in the event that our initial plans don't follow through. If we're looking at this project, that sum seems to me to be very large. Is there any kind of a budget for the film at all that has come up, like a concrete sum that you're gunning for, all sources combined?
We're doing it. We actually will do it. So we'll do it with also with less money, of course, too. But maybe we can do more if we get the whole sum. And I think actually the sum is a statement too, because what's being raised right now, the whole crowdfunding area, is still not very much. In Canada and the States, of course, much more. But we have to be tough and we have to be optimistic about this, because this market will have to grow and it helps so many projects. So I wouldn't have done it for now 30,000 or something. Of course, for your tourist project, for example, it's fine with 15,000. I think it's a great sum when you achieve 50,000 for that. Yeah, of course, because you don't have to run costs, I guess, too. But here we've had a soundtrack, for example, included, which we want to do. The quality has to be the same that Jazzanova does anyhow. And so we need, of course, musicians that help on this project, etc., etc. So that's why we need the sum.
Okay, the reason we're having the discussion about budgets and having kind of ironclad and hardcore targets is because the days that you allot to achieving, for example, target sums like this, or overall budget amounts, those days will elapse very quickly. I cannot tell you how quickly those days will go by. And if those days go by, and if we're talking about 106 days, we're getting towards the final 30 days. It takes a lot of time to refine a really good marketing budget. You need to have that budget as a guiding document. It doesn't need to be followed to the letter of the law. There can be some theme and variations. There can be some flex room in that. I mean, all budgets are like that. But we being the crew of this particular production, need to all be aligned on that particular marketing budget. Or whoever on production is taking care of marketing and fundraising need to all be gunning for the same goal. If the number is kind of like, if it's wishy-washy, or if it's not really put out there that everybody can focus on, it also, when you go to do these things like going for sponsorships, going with strategic partners, raising money privately, perhaps there are private investors with more money than they know what to do with, but they won't give it to you just because you ask them. You have to kind of make an appeal. When other people come aboard, okay, the thing with private investors is, if you can raise 70,000 on crowdfunding, you better well believe a lot of private investors are going to come and say, "How did you do that? How did you do that? Let's have a talk about it. Let's go have a dinner. Let's go have a coffee. Let's go talk about it." If you demonstrate success in fundraising in a lot of different areas, the thing with fundraisers is they like to diminish their risk. They do not want to digest a lot of risk. If you can demonstrate that there's a lot of other funding sources that come aboard, and that somebody who comes in as a private investor, even for 35,000 euros, for example, he's probably not going to lose his pants because he can see that you know how to fundraise on other platforms.